Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Brian from USA.Patriot.Cards. Once again, back with my friend Wes, aka High Grade Hits on Instagram. What's going on, Wes?
Dude, not much. Excited just to talk about Brock Purdy, man. Excited to talk about the hobby. Thanks for I'm excited to do this again. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. This is week two. It's going to be a two-parter this weekend because obviously we're approaching one of the most magical times in any sports fan's life. It's the time of the year that NFL goes to Saturday and Sunday. It's an amazing. I mean, I've already pretty much lined up my weekend. It's all weekend long in front of the football games. Are you with me on that, or am I the only one? Or
Absolutely, dude. I can't wait to wake up tomorrow and fuck around for a couple hours and then just watch football. That's gonna be my game plan too, dude. And there's good games on. That's the best part. It's not like some BS games. Like this time of year, it's December, mid-December. It's hard to find a game that doesn't matter unless it's two really bad teams going against each other, you know?
Yeah, they either really, really matter or they really, really don't. And I think that the NFL has a good way of flexing in the games that really matter. So it's going to be exciting. And then you got the NBA in full swing. You got bowl season right around the corner. We're going to be on a nice run for the next 3 to 4 weeks in sports. And then the dreaded January, February lull. And we'll get through that somehow, though. But before we get into NFL, weekend. Let's talk a little bit about the grumblings in the hobby over the past week. I'll bring up one topic. I'll start with, and it is the repack. I've heard some different influencers talking about repacks and how they wonder about the transparency. I can't talk tonight about the transparency in these products. One comes to mind. What is it? I was gonna say High Grade Hits. That's your name. Hit Parade.
Hit Parade, yeah.
What do you know
Yeah.
about Hit Parade? Have you ever bought a repack? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Tell me what you know about
So a
repack.
lot of that stuff is like very similar to cases of cards where they'll put a case hit in there with the hit parade, and so people will buy cases, and then it opens in a very similar way. Obviously, when you have more control over what's being put into these hits, there's the concern of where these cards are going to, and things like hit parade. Basically, what they do is they buy they buy, let's say the product goes for $500, and there's five in a break, or there's five in the case, right? So they'll put four $200 cards and then one $1,500 card, right? And so the idea is that every card that you're getting is cool and it's fun to open, but obviously they're making a profit on it. And then there's one case hit, which is worth more than the value of the actual opening of the box. It's very similar to what you would get with opening, a case, right? There's one great card in there. So when I first got into the hobby, I found this company called, I don't remember their name, but basically what they were was when I didn't really know what to collect or what to look for, and I wanted to jumpstart my collection, I was ripping a lot of retail and buying stuff. I was buying like blasters on Amazon. Like I didn't like know where to go or what to do. I
We
didn't
all,
know about Facebook groups or whatever.
I know.
And so I was buying two 2020 Panini Prism Football blaster boxes for $100 a pop. And I was like, this is great. I'm gonna get so many cards in there, and slowly realized I was wasting my money. And so I was like, I want slabs. Like, what are slabs? I'm interested in slabs. So I found a reopening of those slab products, and it was $200 for those, and then you end up getting one or two cards for those $200, and they end up valuing about 100, right? And the slabs are not particularly cool. You don't like them, and it's just generally it's not a good idea, right? Because there's a lot more control over what's going into it. This hobby is driven by relationships, and so what's to say a distributor of those repacks aren't able to sell them to a big breaker. I'm not going to name any names, and they get the best hits, right?
Yeah, so that's when you ask me what's the difference between a repack having a case hit and an actual case having a case hit. My answer would be that the case with the case hit has a checklist that is out and published. And you can go look at it, whether it's for Prism or Select or National Treasures. You can go and see the the checklist, the print run, every card, every auto, every parallel that is possibly right in that case. I think on these repacks, I don't know. I mean, I literally know this much about repacks because I just know automatically to stay away from them. But I've heard that the transparency in as much as like checklists and whatnot, it really doesn't exist. They might show like a couple chase cards, but there's not like say a 50
Right.
box product, right? From like Hit
Totally.
Parade, and then you see all 50 cards because it's great to see the 3 cards that you're chasing, but you also need to know the 25 cards that you want to desperately avoid. I
Totally.
think that can weigh into someone's, a decision process. Do you know, are there, full checklists available for these repacks?
No, I think they do. I think they have like so I know on Whatnot they're people who will do shows, right, where it's a buy-in for $800. They say the floor is 200 and the ceiling is 50 grand, right? And they'll show you what's possible to hit. Obviously it's a gamble, right? It's like the fucking social media casino. You're going there, you're trying to spend a certain amount to win more, and that's the entire game behind it. It's not necessarily about like the card you're getting or enjoying the hobby instead of just like finding a card you like, going out and buying it for the price that it's worth, right? So I don't really know much about it other than like, it's to me it just smells of a scam, right? Like if you want to gamble and you want to get into that part of the hobby where you're simply looking to make a quick buck, quick flip, get lucky, whatever, take risks, that's your business. I don't recommend it at all. It's not a sustainable way to engage with this hobby, and it's not a particularly fun way. It's a cheap way.
Right. And I was going to say, if you like to gamble and you like to scratch that itch, there are ways to do it in this hobby that are a little more appropriate than repacks. Get
Totally.
into a break. We were just talking about how the Bowman Chrome, the baseball
Yeah.
boxes are relatively inexpensive right now. You can hit some guys that are young and coming up. You might have to wait 3 or 4 years before they get in the big leagues, but there's ways to kind of scratch that gambling itch without repacks. I think
Well, what about it?
ultimately,
What about buying a player? What about saying, what about prospecting? I think Mac Jones or Justin Fields is going to be the next Tom Brady, right? I want to buy his cards, right? And if you lose, you don't lose your shirt, you lose 50%. You don't, or you lose 20%, or you gain 50%. Like the risk is just less. It's like a matter of risk evaluation, right?
I was going to say that in this thing, not only do you have to get the player right, but you have to get the set right. You have to get the
Totally.
right card. You have to know the flagship rookies. You have to stay away from the eye black autos, for instance. You know, you have to make sure you have a good patch. You don't necessarily want to play in the BGS 9 field. Um, there are getting the player right is just the first part of a good investment. There are so many other factors to consider, and in these repacks, you might pull a Mac Jones or a Joe Burrow or a Jalen Hurts, but there's going to be something about that card that you pull that they decided to put it in a repack. Something's going to be off with it, whether it's the set, whether it's the grade, whether it's the patch, whether it's the
Condition.
auto has a smudge or it's a 9 auto. And if they could sell this card outright on Instagram, eBay, MySlab, they do it. They have to
Totally.
hide this bullshit right under this
Totally.
like 1 or 2 big cards. And then what's really crazy is if you go watch a Whatnot or a Breaker and they're opening these repacks, they oh wow, an SGA, yeah, that's sick. And he might not
No,
be a great example because he's playing out of his mind right now. But they just, you put lipstick on a pig and
totally.
it's the greatest thing you've ever seen. So just stay away from repacks, people. I think it's if you listen, if you have $500 that you want to spend and you just need a little guidance, hit me up. Hit Wes up, High Grade Hits, Instagram. We'll help you, tell you, hey, is this a good price on this? I'm thinking about pulling the trigger. Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Let us know. But at least have the respect for the hobby to do your own research, to learn. Like Wes said, he was buying, he didn't know what slabs were, and he was buying blasters off of Amazon. I didn't know what like half the stuff was either when I got in. It's such a journey, and there's people to help you along the way. Don't let these opportunists sell you the idea on repack. Oh, you could hit the ceiling is 50,000, the floor is 200. I mean, it's all ridiculous. Moving on. That was a good 10 minutes on repacks. Let's talk about Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, how many games in a row has he won?
He's won 3 in a row, I think. Yeah. Well, so he started 2. This was his second start this past Thursday night, but he came in for the majority of the game 2 weeks ago.
Here's how much I know about Brock Purdy. He was the last player taken in the draft, right? Mr. Irrelevant.
That's right.
He beat Tom Brady.
That's right.
And Kyle Shanahan loves him.
Yeah. I mean, those are good things. Those are good things. And I think he's an Iowa State guy. He was kicking Tom Brady's ass so bad that Fox dropped the game and put a different game on with like 13 minutes left in the third quarter. They were up 35-0 or 28-0, something like that, when they decided to make the switch to the game. So, I mean, I understand that the hype is real, and I understand why people are excited about him. I would also say that his card prices, and I don't know if you've taken a look at them, are absolutely insane, and I would avoid them at all costs. And this goes into this education piece that you were just talking about.
What I noticed right away when I looked at Brock Purdy cards on eBay was that he doesn't have any that are worth buying.
100%.
This is a point where you might have been on Brock Purdy 4 weeks ago and thought, hey, if Garoppolo ever gets hurt, man, they got this guy and he's really good. And my sister's boyfriend knows him and played with him, and he's got this inside track, and Brock Purdy's really good. But then you go on eBay and you think, well, let's see, I can get some elite. Let's see, I can get a wild card. What in the hell is this? Let me see.
Yeah, dude, I don't even know.
I'm looking at Brock Purdy cards and I'm seeing this set called Wild Card, and I go to the back and it's not Panini, it's not Topps, it's just Wild Card. Is this the first year?
I think it's one of those just like off-brand shoot. It's like when Panini makes baseball stuff and they just like use all of the great Panini brands, but then they don't have the uniform on them. I think it's the same thing, but just with less reputation, less reputable.
But, I mean, yeah, and it's not Leaf. It's not Topps. Clearly, it's not Panini. Anyway, point being, you got Certified is out with a Brock Purdy Pro card. You've got Donruss Elite. You've got Panini Black.
Yep.
Matter of fact, there is actually a Panini Black rookie auto 1 of 1. Now it's a sticker auto. It's god awful looking, and they want 15,000 or best offer.
Yes, or best offer.
Or at least you can make an offer. Stay away.
You can make an offer.
Purdy, you have to sit and wait. It's almost like we're all right at the starting line, and we all want to get out and get Brock Purdy cards, but we have to wait because the green flag hasn't dropped yet. There hasn't been a decent football release with a Brock Purdy card worth buying. So
and what this reminded me of was Mac Jones last year, when his base Donruss flagship product, very cheap, very affordable. For example, I think Josh Allen's base Panini, his Donruss base 10 goes for like maybe $250, right? Mac Jones's were going for $2,000 last year when he was going on that run, and everybody thought he was the next Tom Brady. What the problem with that is I get that you want to invest in a prospect, and that's great. But as you said, there's no products out there that are worth investing in. And as you said before, you can get the prospect right, but if you don't get the set right and you don't have the education, you're going to get screwed. Those cards are going to go down massively in value. I just saw a Brock Purdy auto out of 199, Panini Black, decent looking card, but that card's going to be worth $100 in by the end of the year, when Flawless comes out, when Prism comes out, when Donruss Optic comes out, legitimate products and legitimate sets.
And unfortunately, everyone's going to be on Brock Purdy. The Brock Purdy story is going to basically be told at that point, at least this season. And so even if he wins the Super Bowl, these cards right here have a definite ceiling on them. They can't go up very much because there's always going to be better cards coming down the pike. So if let me tell you this, if you want to invest in Brock Purdy, find somebody that lives in a state where you can gamble and put $200 on the 49ers winning the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
If you hit, then you get to go buy a nice Brock Purdy Prism card. And there you have it. You stayed away from the Donruss Elite. If you miss, it's just like going out and buying a Panini Black or a wild card Brock Purdy. Eventually, you're going to have like nothing. Because these cards are, I'm telling you, unless he wins a Super Bowl, and even if he does, a $300 Donruss Elite Brock Purdy might be what, 400, 450.
Maybe
By the time all these other
products come out, yeah,
it doesn't matter how good he does. He's got all these other legit sets coming behind him. So, like I said, he can win the Super Bowl. They're still going to come down with the legit.
And let me ask you something: the guy that they invested 3 first-round picks in, he's still on the sidelines. Is Brock Purdy going to be even starting next year if they win the Super Bowl?
I would imagine if they won the Super Bowl, it'd be hard to hand it over to Trey Lance. Don't you think? I mean,
dude, that's the thing about and we can get into this more, but with the 49ers, it's really about Kyle Shanahan and it's about a system guy. They brought in Trey Lance so that they could take that offense to the next level. Brock Purdy, it appears, is mostly a game manager. When you look at his numbers, he throws touchdowns. He has poise, doesn't have the big arm. He doesn't have the intangibles that Trey Lance has in terms of the ability to run, the ability to throw the deep ball, and the ability to throw in tight windows, right? Brock Purdy feels very much like a serviceable backup. And I don't know what his ceiling looks like, but I know that he was drafted in the 7th round for a reason. And it's just, there's so many things stacked against Brock Purdy becoming a long-term serviceable franchise quarterback that it's not a good gamble. There are better ways to gamble on him than to buy his prospecting cards. It would be hard to turn it over anywhere else, but just because if you're buying to do that, you're buying at those prices that they're at now with the expectation that the prices are going to continue to go up. What is going to make them go up?
Yeah, you're buying a Brock Purdy 101 for $8,000 so you can take a picture of it, go to Instagram, flex it, and people go, wow, cool. How much did you pay for that?
Right.
And then literally, as soon as the season's over, that card is worth $200, $300, $500. I mean, who knows?
It drops. And we've seen it. We've seen it with so many prospects. We've seen it with so many guys. It's the exact same thing. It's the new guy. Everyone's excited. They don't care. He's won 3 games. He's on a great team. He's about to do a playoff run. And he's really, really early in his career. So it's like all of those things line up. We're getting the next Mahomes. We're getting the next this or that. Watch him play. He's not that.
Yeah.
He's not
okay. The last thing before we get into the games this weekend was, there's an interesting new shill bid that we see, and used to be the shill bidding would come into play when, I had a card and I'd put it up on eBay and I'd call you and I'd say, hey Wes, hey, bid this up a little for me, hey, bid this up to 600, and I come on top and bid it to 700. You might come on top and bid it to 800, so that when my card sells, I can have some control on how much it sells for. My dogs are in here. Get quiet. What we're seeing now, especially on a lot of big items.
You can see my dog. There he is.
Yeah. Well, at least your dog's quietly like eating things off of your desk that he shouldn't be. Mine are resting and making noise.
He's going exploring.
And this reverse shill is happening in auction houses. It's definitely happening on eBay.
Yep.
It's where you see a card that you have that say you're into it for $1,000, and all of a sudden somebody needs money and they go to auction it, and you panic and you think, as it sits at 240 with a day and a half left, I can't let this end at $240. And then so you start bidding it up, and then you might get a little carried over away. And guess what? You win the card, and you're not definitely going to pay for it. Well, unless you're you, because you just showed me an example of when you tried to protect a comp, ended up with the card, and you paid $5,000 for a Trevor Lawrence that you were trying to help protect another Trevor Lawrence. That's good. That's good karma. It's good stuff. If only there were more people like you in the hobby. Unfortunately, what we see mostly is people get stuck holding the bag and then not paying for it. So let's say that card sells for 600. Well, then that buyer just relists, and it's not going to get back to 600 now, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, honest bidding, it might get to 450. I mean, you're only hurting yourself. You might as well just stay out of the way.
Buyer psychology, right? You go, I could have had it at 600, and now I want it for less. Right? That's why we all want it. When we go to shows, we want to buy things under comps. When we're buying on Instagram, we want to buy things under comps. All of those reasons.
And I think coming off this huge influx of cash, this huge spike that we had, let's call it the PPP era in cards. You see it every week on Alt and PWCC. These monster cards are getting smashed. And I think one thing that we have to hurry up and get to in this hobby is stabilization. We just need everybody to realize that it's not yesterday's price. We need things to stabilize. Stay out of if you have a card that you own and it's up on eBay, stay out of that auction. Just let it end where it ends. Let's stabilize this thing and let's move forward, because the longer we take to get there, it's just, the longer it's going to be until we can move forward.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that before we move into the weekend?
No, I mean, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. And by the way, when I did that with the Trevor Lawrence card, I learned my lesson. I learned a $5,000 lesson, right? Bidding up your card and getting carried away or getting caught up in that is a stupid idea. Don't do it, right? I was being greedy and it hurt me, right? And take that as a lesson, right? Let me be the example for why you shouldn't do that. And that was a long time ago. That was something I wouldn't, it's just not something I would do now, because it goes, oh, shit, now I got to pay for this, right? I don't want to be the guy who doesn't pay for it. But anyway, yeah, I think you're seeing a lot of that. And I mean, more cards aren't getting paid for. That was definitely a big trend for a while, especially when the market was dropping. I've noticed now that there's been less sales where people are not paying for it on bids, but if they do a buy it now, they get excited, they buy it now, and then they go research it a little bit, and then they go, I can't pay what I just paid for this card or what I just bid it on. I mean, there are whole pages dedicated, there are whole Instagram accounts dedicated to people posting excuses for why they couldn't pay for their cards, right? So it's obviously a very significant issue within the hobby. Be the guy who pays for it. Don't spend more than you can afford to lose. Invest responsibly, and you don't have to stress out about how much money you're putting into the cards, right? Because that's a big part of it too, is there's so much financial fear can come up, and so much non-sustainable behavior can really derail how you invest and how you collect. So I would say just be careful about that.
All right, we're coming up on about 25 minutes. We had an idea that we would talk about these three games. We'd show all the cards that we have from these teams, but I think what we're going to need to do, Wes, is just pick one card from the team that we talk about, show it, and we'll move on. This is like we said earlier, the first Saturday of the season with 3 NFL games. First one starting at 12 Central, which would be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard out where you are. Colts at 4-8 versus the Vikings at 10-3. This feels like it should just be a formality for the Vikings, but they are only -3.5. Do you have
Colts
any
are frisky? Colts are frisky.
They're frisky. Do you have any Colts or Vikings cards to show? I know you have a nice Justin Jefferson. Let's start with that.
Yeah, so I have this Jefferson right here. It's a green. I don't know. I'll get it as close as I can.
Pull it back and then tilt it.
Yeah, so this right here is a green Justin Jefferson, Prism Black, out of 49, PSA 9, little off center, just a tick.
You're a fan of the Prism Black?
I mean, I'm not as much of a fan of it as I am of the actual Prism Auto itself. But I mean, I think they're really cool cards. I think they have a similar design to them. They're fun. I'm a believer in. I like Prism Black. I really do. It might not be something that I would start off buying because then you can run the risk of overpaying. But I think they're really good looking cards and they're cheaper than your typical Prism. So
Yeah,
I have no problem.
they're a good option for the poor man's. God, my dogs, they frustrate the bejesus out of me. I almost want to stand up and close my door, but I figure I might as well just power through. Okay, I don't have any Vikings or Colts. I don't really have much to say about this game. If the Vikings lose to the Colts, then I don't even know. That would be disgusting. The Vikings are 10-3. Um, yeah, it sounds like a game that most people will finish up doing their chores or their shopping or whatever so they can get home to watch Ravens Browns. Is that any better? I mean, let's be honest. You're in Ravens country. What are they saying out there? 9-4.
I think the vibe is pretty bad, and it's been a pervasive issue with this team for the last couple of years where they feel like they could win or lose any single game. They still continue to find ways to win, but they don't look like a playoff. They don't look like a team who's like geared up for a deep playoff run. Their running game is starting to look a lot better. JK's healthy. But I mean, they're on their backup right now. Hopefully Lamar can get back and get into full form before the playoffs, but I wouldn't say the outlook's great. I think there are too many good teams in the AFC. There's just too many good teams, and that's generally the sentiment out here.
Give me an update on Lamar. Well, what are they saying about him?
So they're saying he's going to come back. It's possible he'll come back next week or the week after, and he's got a knee injury, man. It's going to be hard. That's a sick card. Tell him about that card.
I have a big bag of Deshaun Watson too, but I figured I might as well roll with the Blue Scope Lamar from 2018 Prism. Lamar, for some reason, didn't want to sign as many autos as Josh Allen. So they didn't make him. This is actually serial numbered. Of course, it's got the Mike Baker thing on the back because it's a gold diamond Mike Baker. How about that? But this is out of 15. The Blue Scopes are traditionally out of 99. But yeah, I tried to make you buy it from me in Dallas. We just couldn't get a deal done. But I think it's the only Lamar that I have left, sadly. But I hope he comes back for the hobby's sake at least. I will. Let me just show this too. Here, like I said, I've been picking up Deshaun Watson. There's a white sparkle, low pop. Man, I really need him to bounce back. So I think, if for no other reason, maybe the NFL landscape won't be paying much attention to that game, but the hobby should. I think there's
Absolutely.
a lot of Deshaun Watson guys that are.
Yeah, and from a hobby perspective, Lamar is so ice cold right now. I mean, his stuff has been going down, not just with the market, but there was a lot of hype going into the season. He came out and he looked amazing, and then his receivers were starting to get hurt, and the team's offense just wasn't looking as good, and it really died. I think people want Lamar to succeed, and he's a pretty polarizing hobby collection guy, but look, man, I'm a believer. I'm in Ravens country. I'm a Ravens fan secondarily to the Commanders, and I mean, he's a lot of fun, and his ceiling is undoubtedly high. And I think he lifts up that team. And I'll show you guys this one. This is my optic. This is a hollow auto of Lamar Jackson, his rated rookie. It's signed right there on card. Little like kind of under him, not like in the middle that you typically see, but it's numbered to 99. I actually bought that the same weekend that I was in Dallas with you, and that's the reason I didn't end up getting that Blue Scope from you, is because I ended up picking this up at a good price. So that's that. I got a lot more Lamar here, but in the interest of time, I won't show it.
Well, let's pour one out for Lamar, and then hopefully Deshaun can take a step forward and get some people excited. I don't think the Browns are going to end up going anywhere as far as postseason is concerned, but we can at least stoke the fire of next year for potential Deshaun market. And then you got the nightcap, the one that everyone's going to be tuned in for, if for no other reason. It's supposed to be anywhere from 7 to 22 inches of lake effect snow at Orchard Park in Buffalo, New York, to see Josh Allen, who hasn't been playing his best football, despite them continuing to win, against the suddenly doubted former MVP type.
2 weeks ago.
Now people are saying it's tank. Instead of tanking for Tua, it's tanking to get Tua off the team. I mean, it's really wild the swing people have had on Tua Tagovailoa. I never understood why it's Tagovailoa when it's spelled Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
Everybody's make sure they say tongue, though. It's like they're saying to a tongue of Viola. Like, are we sure it's tongue? Anyway,
I don't know. I don't think the end's there. I think it's Tug of Iloa.
I hear tongue every time somebody says it, and it drives me insane. But I will show this.
Nice.
Now, this is a Josh Allen card that few people know what it is right off the bat. It's a super, super short print green. It used to be a pop one. Now, you'll see the green Prism rookies, but you rarely see the green Prism rookie autos. And so this is now a pop 2. I'll tell you what, even though I have actually 2 pretty big Allens, tomorrow I'm going to be rooting for Tua. I have some Tuas too, and I like Tua. Listen, if the Bills can survive, if the Bills lose tomorrow, they can survive. If the Dolphins go up there and Tua gets a win, then I think his market gets a nice boost, and that's what I'm really hoping.
Look good. He's got to look good while he's doing it. He's got to.
It's going to be hard in 7 inches of snow.
It is. Not to mention, I mean, the deck's getting stacked against him a little bit. The environment doesn't look great, but the hobby loves that when a guy's not supposed to win and he does it in a heroic fashion. That's going to start that fire of excitement about Tua again, especially if they can steal that victory. All of a sudden, their playoff chances go up. They look a lot better. And, this kind of tailspin that he's in hobby-wise, you can start buying and selling his cards, and he's moving around a lot more. He's changing hands a lot more if that happens.
Yeah, people are frozen. They just don't want, especially anything upwards of 500 and up. I mean, they just don't.
Yeah.
And I can't blame them. I'm kind of looking for an opportunity. What do you have there?
That's this is his XRC. It was from 2019 Panini Select. They do the XRCs as redemptions. That's his and a 10. I actually just picked this up.
Show it again. Show it again.
Absolutely. Let me.
When did you pick it up?
I picked it up last week. To a PSA 10. Got the nice shine to it.
Is there a refractor version and a base version, or is it?
This is the base. The refractor is the base, but they have gold and they have tie dye and they have the 1 of 1 as well, which are, I mean, the tie dye ones are awesome. I actually used to have a Herbert tie dye XRC PSA 9 that I bought and then promptly flipped for a $500 profit, I might add.
Well, you're prone to do that.
I get excited. When I see a card get a new comp, and I got to take advantage because I've also lost the bag plenty of times. So I got to chill.
We are at about 34 minutes. We said we wanted to cap this out at 30. I did get a notification on my phone that Chris Hoge. Now, some of you guys might know who he is. And when you're seeing our video, of course, this video notification that I got won't be live, but he's a part of the Card Ladder team. It's him and his wife, Christina, who's in the background, and somebody else. I can't think of the other dude's name. He's a huge Todd Gurley collector. And then Chris is a huge Christian McCaffrey collector. Anyway, the reason I say any of that is they do a show on Friday nights called The Crossover, and it starts around 11 o'clock Central. It's some of the greatest hobby content that is out there. They just take viewer questions and they answer them, but they have a lot of insight. It's about an hour to an hour and 20 minutes long every week. I've learned a lot just by watching it. And so they throw it up on their Instagram. They throw it up on their YouTube. It's I know you can find it if Chris Hoge is HOJ, and it stands for House of Jordan. I guess
Okay.
he's a Jordan collector.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd throw that in. Have you ever seen
On
the crossover?
Instagram. Yeah, no, I've never seen the podcast, but I follow House of Jordan on Instagram, and his stuff is insane.
Well, yeah, you would definitely love to check in on that and hear what
I'll
they have
listen
to
to it
say.
after this. I'll throw it on. That sounds great.
Well, okay, that's it for the 3 games. We'll be back on, I guess tonight, which will be Saturday night, since you're seeing this on Saturday morning. We'll be back on to create a new video for Sunday morning, kind of covering the rest of the slate of games to the NFL. Let me ask you one last thing. This parting thought: who's the NFL MVP right now?
It's gonna be Jalen Hurts, but it's not Jalen Hurts. It's fucking Patrick.
It could possibly be somebody else, though. He could stumble. He could lose. It's his to lose. Is that?
Yes.
I mean, that's a given, right?
Yeah, it's his to lose. I think his betting odds to win it are like minus 160, 190, something like that. So people are saying it's his. Those are, those odds are basically saying it's his. And I think Patrick Mahomes is plus 160. So it's coming down to those two. I think you give it to Jalen Hurts because he's exciting. It's sexy. They're 12-1. It's kind of a no-brainer at this point. I think Patrick Mahomes was more valuable to his team personally, but I also don't get a vote. So who cares what I think?
Well, I'll tell you what. I see the Jalen Hurts market, and I think just from his college days and his early NFL days, it's going to take a lot more than 13 games to convince this hobby that he's a long-term play. I mean, I see cards come up all the time for sale. Hurts. People are trying to beat, the obvious cliff he's about to fall off. We'll see.
We'll see, man. I mean, I think he passes the eye test. I like what he's a really good player. He really is. He's somebody who's a franchise guy. You can't argue that. People don't like the running QBs who use their legs first and who can threaten you. I don't think he's just the first read and go kind of guy. He's really a multiple read, can make good throws, is more accurate, finds his guys. Like, he's got it, man. He really does.
Well, I missed the boat on him. There's no way in hell I'm going out and picking up a Jalen Hurts card.
Look, man, as a Cowboys fan and as a Commanders fan, I'm happy to miss that boat.
Right. If you did grab him, congrats. We'll see what happens when they face the Cowboys on Christmas Eve, I believe.
I'm pulling for your Cowboys. I'm pulling for me.
Yeah, nothing better than waking up on Christmas morning to a victory for Mike Parsons' Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
Well, thanks for joining us again. Thanks, Wes, for hanging out. It was good to chop it up, and we'll do this again tomorrow.